Well, today I got a bone to pick with someone, maybe several someones, but it's something that I don't normally talk about. In fact, I don't think I've ever talked about on my channel. Sometimes people make comments that are, well, there's a lot of words for them, but it would probably get me a strike on YouTube if I said it. So let's just leave it at that. But normally when I get these comments, I just try to ignore them. Maybe I hide them from the channel, delete them, whatever, remove them. Frankly, it's not worth wasting your time on. But there was one that I had recently that was probably some 12-year-old kid, right? Anytime I see these kind of comments, these dumb, negative, childish is what I think of them comments, I generally just click, poof, they're gone, and move on. Because honestly, the vast majority of you that watch my channel have either positive things to say or at most maybe some feedback that I can use, right? Some useful feedback, which I appreciate. I got videos upcoming because of them. So I'll leave it at that because I don't want to give away what that video is. But there were two comments that I thought, the first was one that made me really think about my channel and what maybe people see when they watch the channel. And the comment, which was done pretty childishly, it was something to the effect of, if you're so rich that you can afford solar panels, why don't you cut all the trees down that are shading the panels on your roof, basically, right? Something like that. And I kept trying to respond, and I finally gave up, but then I just nuked it and moved on. And then I got to thinking about it, and I thought, well, setting aside that the comment was just the way it was worded was kind of silly. I thought about it, and I thought, well, there is a point there. There is something there maybe worth responding to those of you that aren't children, right? Because some might wonder. In one of my last videos, I did a 15 years with a cabin in the woods, is it worth it type video. And I thought, I talked a lot about the amount of work that was in that video. And Michael Wilson from Wilson Forestlands made a great comment, which was, but some of us love the work. And I do. I'm that person, broken or not. I love to get, I'm like one of those crazy people that loves to split wood, right? Give me a decent splitting axe, and I prefer the wedge style axes today, but give me a decent style splitting axe, and man, I'm telling you what, you put them up, I'll knock them down. And in fact, in the past, we've often played this game with the grandkids to see how many, rounds Grandpa can split in a row without missing or without failing. And the trick really was to get them to non-stop put up the rounds for me to knock down. And we'd set up like 6 chopping blocks, and they would set up 6 rounds, and I would knock them down, and they'd set 6, and I'd knock them down and go on for hours because I love it. I just love it. Let me break a sweat and I'm a happy camper. So it's a lot of work owning a cabin, but I love the work. I hope that makes sense. Now, back to the comment. Yes, taking down those trees will reduce the shade on the roof panels. Absolutely 100% true. And it is also in the plans to take those trees down. Those are coming down for forest fire protection, regardless of whether or not they provide shade on the panels. They're coming down. They're too close to the woodshed, too close to the cabin. To protect the cabin from forest fires, those have to come down, and I will be using them to build another cabin. However, I no longer live at our cabin full time. In fact, I've mentioned many times in the past that I travel there about every 2 weeks. And I'm usually there for 2, 3, 4 days at a time, but a few times a year I try to get up there longer. What that means is that I'm very limited to what I can do in one weekend. And I'm sure you probably understand it, but I just felt compelled to talk about it. So when you see the videos, which often are anywhere from a week or two to a month or two behind, depending on when they were filmed, how many videos I'm putting out, all that kind of stuff. When you see them, when I go to the cabin to make those videos, I generally have a list of things I want to try to get done. And the truth is, one, with filming, I get less done. So I actually really enjoy making these videos and sharing them with you. So first of all, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. I always try to answer your questions if you comment, by the way. Always try to answer comments, period. In fact, while I'm on the subject of comments, there are some of my viewers who are awesome folks. You're all awesome, let's be honest, except for the children making the silly comments. But there are some that love to get the last word, and it's really funny because on YouTube, there's a part of the creator studio that we use to manage our channel that will always tell you if there's a new comment without a response by you. And it's a great tool. It's how, one of the ways I always can keep up with the comments. I go in and I'll filter by any new comments that anybody's made. And you can actually filter by questions, by members, by super chats, all those kind of things. So for example, if you become a member on the channel, and that's not what this video is about, but for an example, if you become a member on the channel, which just supports the channel for like the price of a cup of coffee a month, I can always filter that and find out if members make comments, and will always respond to those, right? But I do always try to answer every single question, and I'll filter comments on replies without a comment by me. And there are some times where I will leave those because I know I want to make a comment, and then I realize, if I just leave it, maybe that'll just sit there. And I know that might sound terrible to some, but that's usually 20 comments in, right? At some point, I'm like, okay, let's move on to the next subject. And so I love commenting and replying to you in the comments, and I will always do that. But at some point, I'll probably say, okay, on to the next one, right? But anyway, back to the, if you are so rich. Number one, I'm retired on VA disability benefits. I know I talk about being a broken jarhead, busted up old jarhead, bad back, bad thumbs, you name it. But I'm just retired on my disability for being a busted up old jarhead. So I'm not rich. Now, I did work for nearly 30 years in telecommunications, and I finished off the last, nearly 20 years anyway, in management or supervisory roles. But that doesn't make you rich. I'm sure that 95% of you watching, because I get to see the age of my viewers, 95% of you actually get it, right? You either are retired now or you're close to being retired. So I'm sure you get it, right? I don't care if you make $100,000 a year, $150,000 a year, you're not rich. You might be able to afford the solar panels, especially if you're smart and you buy them at places like Sun Elect. You try to keep the cost down, right? So I'm not rich. I think you all know that. Now, it might look like to the kid that, thinks that he should get 20 bucks an hour working at McDonald's, maybe it looks to him like I'm rich, but he's probably got a nicer phone than I do, probably got faster internet, and I'm a YouTuber, probably got all kinds of fancy things that I don't have, right? I mean, my new phone is 3 years old. It's a Samsung A71. And that isn't even close to whatever the newest and latest and greatest phone is, because I can't afford the latest and greatest anything. But in any case, the point I'm trying to make is that, yeah, I go out to the cabin, I get work done, and then I leave, and I can't get everything done that I want to do. And it could be because of my back, where carrying a 23-pound, pro saw around to fall big trees is a bit tough to do for long periods of time. Or it could be because of my hands, which I get shot up every 3 months, so they work with steroid injections, and I can't grip things or something, right? So there's that aspect of it. Busted up old jarhead can't always do everything he wants to do. The other aspect of it is it's just a lot of work. And as much as I love to do the work, I'm not there full time, so I can't do everything full time. So the likelihood that I'm going to get all those trees down around that woodshed before winter, it's a possibility, but it's probably less likely than likely, at least not all of them. 2 or 3 of them, sure. Half of them, maybe a little more, sure. And will it help my production? Yes. But the video was actually about upgrading a charge controller, which had LifePo 4 settings and a Bluetooth module that my old charge controller did not have either of. So the only way for me to get information off the old one, which now those things run like 700 bucks, would be to either A, buy their remote module, and B, see if they have an update, or just leave it set to throw 29 volts at the batteries all day long. Which leads me to another comment. The other comment was, well, you're just going to blow up your back room or burn your back room down or whatever now. Good luck, right? and of course, that one I didn't nuke, but I did respond with a couple things. One was, I've got LifePo 4 batteries. Those are lithium ferrous phosphate. They are far less volatile than lithium-ion batteries. There is a difference. They're not the same chemical composition. Lithium ferrous phosphate batteries, LiFePO4s, are far more stable, far safer, all around better battery. Now, one of the things that that new charge controller has is a battery temperature sensor. So too does the inverter charger that I have. Both of those are designed to protect LiFePO4 batteries if they get too hot or too cold. Shut them down. So even though they have BMSs, that charge controller and that inverter charger both will stop trying to charge the batteries if they start to get dangerously hot. So one of the ways you could cause a LiFePO4 to go nuclear on you is if you're trying to charge it and it's 140 degrees. Well, that's getting too hot. That's bad. Or if it's really cold. That's just the reality. Now, are LiFePO4s a dangerous battery to have in or near your house? I personally don't believe so. But folks, I lived with lead acid batteries for a long time, and I worked in the communications industry where batteries were everywhere. And guess what? We had to call hazardous waste in when batteries did bad things. A flooded lead acid battery can crack. And when it cracks, it leaks that acid all over the place and it makes a horrible mess. Gel batteries can crack and leak the gel all over the place too. We've had that happen. It's a worse mess. Those flooded lead acid batteries off-gas hydrogen gas, which is highly explosive. So if you have those in an enclosed room, well, gee whiz, guess what? God forbid there's some kind of a spark that happens in that room. Maybe it's a little electrical zip-zap because, you know, when you plug something in, sometimes if it's got like a capacitor, and I'm not an electrician, but this is what happens. You plug it in, it gets a little bit of a spark, and then it settles down. Well, guess what? I've had that happen in here with these batteries when I'm testing them and I hook something up to them, gets a little zip. Like this guy right here, that 24 volt converter. It's a 12 volt to 24 volt buck converter. When you plug that in, you put in a negative, it's fine. You put the positive in, it goes bzzzt, and then it's fine. It's perfectly normal. If I had flooded lead acid batteries in here that were off-gassing because they were charging up at just over 28 volts, it would have gone boom. So batteries are inherently dangerous, regardless of whether they're flooded lead acid, AGM, lithium ion, or LiFePO4s. But LiFePO4s are far more stable than lithium ions, and I personally am not worried about them. As long as I don't get them wet or try to charge them at extreme temperatures or abuse them horribly, perfectly fine. And it's proven. And yeah, there are electric cars that have burned to the ground in a horrible mess. Those were both lithium ion and I think LiFePO4s too, in accidents. Well, my batteries aren't going to get rammed by a truck in the room they're in. So I think that was just an uninformed person. I've seen a lot of people say that, you know, on social media groups, you know, oh my God, lithium batteries, worst in the world, get the AGMs. Well, I've seen hazardous waste from AGMs that was horrible. No battery is perfectly safe. Sorry, they're not. But lithium-ion batteries are the less stable version of the lithium battery types. The LiFePO4s are far more stable today. Far more stable. And we use them all. You're using... A lot of viewers that watch my channel, probably the guy that was making that comment, probably did it on his cell phone with a lithium battery in his cell phone that he probably keeps in his pocket. Right? You know? So anyway... One, I love the comments. Thank you for making all the comments. I don't love the super negative or 12-year-old style comments, and those I usually nuke. I typically don't respond to them. I don't make videos about them. But I do think it is important sometimes to address something that somebody brings up. And in the case of the trees, yeah, those are coming down, absolutely. But even without the shade on those panels, I still would have upgraded my solar power so that I had better charge controllers and inverters that are better suited for charging up LiFePO4 batteries. Would have done that anyway, with or without the trees. And as far as the batteries exploding, I'm not concerned about that either, frankly. I mean, I got propane appliances in there too. They can explode. I could get, you know, methane from the gray water drain system that can explode. I mean, you got all kinds of possibilities here. So enough said about that. Again, I really do appreciate all the positive comments anyway, or the constructive comments. And I always look forward to those. In fact, I'll tell you this. If you're still here, thank you. But I'll tell you my final thought. When I put out a new video every single time, the first thing I look for is to see if it got a comment. So if you're one of those that likes to comment, thank you so much for that, because that's one of those things that I personally measure, right? Like YouTube, there are a number of metrics on how well a video is performing, but for me, the more comments there are, the better. So if you're one of those people that kind of holds off on making a comment, no, make a comment. I love it. I really do. I appreciate it. So anyway, to heck with that. We don't care about them. I'll hit that nuke button, send them flying. And you're welcome to nuke them yourself if you want before I see it. But, you know, time to move on. Thanks for watching, folks. I really do appreciate it. Hey, I'll drop another video right here for you to check out. Don't forget to drop your comments. Y'all have a great day. The old Jarhead out.